And trust me, it's an absolute banger. It's a game changer.
This is Ediz Gurel. He's a 16-year-old chess prodigy from Turkey. This game was played in the Turkish Super League, and you just can't move on social media right now for people praising this as the move of the year. But he starts with the humble pawn e5. Deniz Lazavik was playing white, an incredibly strong 18-year-old. Kids are not supposed to be able to play chess like this. This is known as the Kramnik-Shirov counter gambit. Clock times on the left here, about an hour and a half each. We're not going to linger too long in the opening here. The knight develops. We want to get to the juicy stuff coming later in the game. Now you could at any moment pick up this bishop here, but Deniz decides he doesn't want it. All the pieces on the board, real tense game after pawn to c ships. One day black wants this, but Deniz just castles, keeping his coach proud here, getting that king safe, and no time to push or you drop a pawn, right? So this knight defends. Now you are threatening d5. It explains this move. You leave a hole, but you clamp on the square, so we get a fight back over on the queen side. d4 thrusting. Now we get b5 countering against that. Are you going to push? Are you going to take? Well, we see queen e2 covering all bases. We get the tension maintained after queen to c7. a3 now keeps an eye on this little push, and after rook e8, h3 taking control of g4 and i4, we get this second rook activating. Very nice play by black and white. It's just a good cut and thrust game. This move looks weird, but it opens the eyes of the rook. Pressure on the e-pawn. Now we get takes. Pawn recaptures, usually advised to capture towards the center. And before you can say gave a piece,
in this endgame I gave a piece.
we see Deniz gaining some space on the queen side and looking to pressure this backwards pawn. The cool and calm h6 in response, and you kind of want to do something with this bishop, right? But if you go here, you're running into a quick knight b6, c4. Yeah, you could drop back, but then there could be problems with the center. So we didn't see bishop b2. This was playable, but Deniz was worried about his e-pawn probably. It is okay. You're covered with the bishop anytime black captures there. But instead he leaves it parked at home, brings the queen here, eyes the undefended black queen, so she jumps over, maybe looking at c5 soon, defending this pawn here, and after knight b1, we do have to wonder, was Deniz despairing at this point, setting up for the next game already? Regardless, we get some central action. Now, anytime you give up the center, you've got to have a plan. You know, white's now got the space, the pressure on this pawn here, but this is the point, knight e5. A real stallion suddenly, no longer a donkey. Looks here, defends here. Yes, you can kick. Soon played, different game. a4 though, instead on the board. Not the best, but then this isn't the best reaction. But I don't want to get too caught up in the crazy complications. There's enough to come. Now we get f4. Deniz roaring like a lion. You do weaken the king, but you do gain space. Potato, tomato. And now this is possible. You might think lovely jubbly, past runner. However, you've always got c5 coming at some point to undermine the base of that chain. Then it could be weak, right? Is it an asset? Is it a liability? So we didn't see it. Instead, the exchange. The knight re-enters the game, and now queen to b6 reminds white of that pin, the weakened king. So he sidesteps. Now this rook hits the c-file, logical, leaves this one pressuring the center here, and after queen d3, we get the excellent pawn to h5. Very nice clamp on the g4 square. Sometimes you're even doing this. Never respond with this. That's a calamitous square to give up. So rook a2 played, and this is pure class. No h4, not that great actually. You just glide by. Even you could take, which is good. Who's really attacking whom down the g file? Got to be careful. So g6 was played, and now Deniz reveals his point with bishop f3. This one tucks in, and rook g2. He makes that move, announcing whoosh because it moves so many squares. A lot of top guys do that over the board. Real nice etiquette. Arbiters approve. And after rook c7, the full point is revealed as we see the g-pawn launched down the board there. Andrea can't help herself. She gets a spin on. Everyone's having fun. Takes, pawn recaptures, and really nice response. Rook e to c8. What's so cool about this game is that both players understand it's imbalanced. Fine, you attack there, I'll attack there. Who's going to kill whom? White's got the centre, black's got a weakened pawn structure, but arguably the white king is weaker. There's pressure here, so the knight drops back. Now this classy move, queen a7, coming onto the open file, but staying with the long diagonal, is met by g5. Knight h7 played. We get the king stepping up, clearing the h file for an attack, and now knight f8. No mate, as they say. It's headed for the promised land. We see an exchange. Bishop takes back, and I really need to show you this key theme to help you understand the position. Why can't white crack on with this one? Taking the tin opener to the queen side, where's the bishop going? If you back up, there's f6, even takes could be good, but f6 looks horrible because you clear out the bishop, then you double, then you kill. So, this is dangerous, but the problem is knight e5. You give a massive square, you pick up a tempo on the queen. She doesn't actually have many squares, so much stuff is controlled that you have to do something a bit meek, and then black can start invading, and it's black attacking. You can give pawns and pieces and attack. So this is premature, but it's an important theme because when the rooks double, now we see only one move in the position for black to stay marginally better. If you just wait around, again, let's give an example of some themes. Just bounce with the queen. Now this comes. Now this is no good because you invaded with the rooks. You can ignore the queen attack. f6, takes. This is a mate. Just to give you some themes, right? So this starts to become a very real threat now. You have to do something active with black. What's the brilliancy that it is played here? The move is knight e5.
Of course, report immediately. No doubt about this player. Absolutely no doubt. So, reporting.
It's a thing of beauty. If that is captured, here's the follow-up point. You start with takes on c1. When the knight moved, you opened the c file. Now that square's covered enough time. This is the best response. Now what's your follow-up? Well, it's check. And stuff starts happening. King g2, natural, right? You're not going to block with the knight and hang a rook. So then you take here, knight recaptures, you take here, king recaptures. Even now, white is a piece up. This is an utterly incredible combination. Bishop blocks, you're still a piece down. But this is the sting at the end of the tail. It's a loose knight on c1, and this levels up the game and brings black a pawn ahead. That is what, 10, 12 move deep combination, maybe 10 moves. It really is incredible. So that's what happens if you take the knight. So it wasn't touched. The best move was this, not played. Here's a quick sample line. Black's doing great. Bishop pair, rook's invading, weaker king, so on and so forth. In the game though, Deniz tried this one. Now we really got to ignore the question marks. It only gets that for one killer shot that Ediz finds, and one killer shot only. Looks like this works, because if you take the queen, there's this mate in 2. Can you find the killer blow? It's rook h8. You have to take with the bishop, and that shuts a lovely trap. Absolutely stunning. Both players on fire, but it is just a little more, because here he plays what's being called the move of the year. It's queen f2 check.
Now, okay. Everything is clear about this game. To me, completely clear.
Now the king cannot move, so let's rule that out. Other than to take it. This wasn't played because if you do it, you take with check, the king goes, you take the bishop, and when you count the material, white's just a straight minor piece down, a dark squared bishop. So, rook takes was played. Now knight takes on d3, and you're hitting two things. You'd love to move the rook and save the bishop, but you can't do both at the same time. So the best way to play is taking here. If you moved the rook, you'd just end up an entire minor piece down. Now how to go? Recapture the bishop, recapture the rook. Well, this is best because then again, you create a second threat on the rook here, taking with check also. So there's no time to save the bishop. So this was played as the best move. Now the king recaptures, and when the smoke clears, black emerges a rook for a knight ahead. Stunning game. We now see some technique here. Pawn attacked. Exchanging the rook wasn't the best. You'd actually be better to keep both rooks on the board and they can combine to do some nasty stuff. But this is still winning. But not if you actually swap B pawn for D pawn. Then the knight and 3 pawns against 2 here, I believe should be a draw. Or very difficult to win unless someone does something stupid. This is how the game went. This is how we proceed into a 2 versus 2, but knight and rook. And we're not going to go too long here. This is a technical win. What we see is the black king running all the way around very soon. And it puts white in a kind of zugzwang. Rook g1 check is now threatened. Then you step into f3. You know, what if you wait with the knight? This kind of thing. Where you check the king away, step in. You know, the king couldn't come to f5. And the pawn's dropping. You can defend, but you can attack it and then give up the exchange back just to win the pawns. So that's why f5. That's why takes with check. Recapturing looks normal, but then you step like this and you are actually going to win the second pawn and with it the game. So we run back. This was played. This is how things went along. We see this pawn advancing and here a resignation.
Okay, let's do the procedure. Block. This is first what I do.
Because say white checks, looks natural to pick up the f pawn, try and run the g pawn, well you're not going anywhere. This is going to queen, and if you try and advance this, well you just take, blah blah blah. This is going through. What a game by Ediz, truly exceptional. And in case you missed this game on screen by Richie Rapport, arguably the game of the year, then check that one out next. Kasparov was in bits over that one. Thanks a lot for watching and see you soon. Cheers.